picture going around online this month. It claims to show a screenshot of a 2002 episode of The Simpsons that eerily mirrors real-life events.
What if the most accurate forecaster on the planet is not a scientist, not an economist, not a geopolitical analyst, but a cartoon family from Springfield? For decades, The Simpsons has shocked viewers with predictions that later became reality. But in 2026, things feel different. A list of 11 predictions, once dismissed as fiction, are now lining up with real-world events, raising one question: how did they see this coming? Stick till the end and hit subscribe, because the final prediction is the one people can't ignore. The show that somehow keeps getting it right. Let's set the scene first. The Simpsons premiered in 1989 and has grown into the longest-running scripted primetime series, with over 790 episodes across 37 seasons. With a 2025 renewal extending it to 2029, Springfield isn't done surprising us anytime soon. The show's writers were never just comedians. They brought deep knowledge of science, politics, and culture, crafting satire rooted in real-world trends. As producers like Al Jean and Bill Oakley explain, many predictions are educated guesses. Still, what's lining up in 2026 is getting harder to ignore. Prediction 1: AI takes your job. This is the one that hits closest to home for the most people in 2026, and it aired 14 years ago. Season 23, Episode 17 of The Simpsons is titled Them Robot, and it aired on March 18, 2012. In the episode, Mr. Burns fires nearly the entire workforce at the Springfield nuclear power plant and replaces every single one of them with robots. His reasoning is exactly what you would expect from Mr. Burns. Robots are cheaper, more obedient, and they do not file complaints. Homer is kept on as the only human employee, and the rest of Springfield sinks into a sweeping unemployment crisis almost immediately. At the time, the episode played as absurdist comedy. In 2026, it reads like a corporate memo. Artificial intelligence tools are actively replacing workers in customer service roles, data processing, legal research, content creation, radiological diagnosis, and financial analysis. A report from the U.S. Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, which cited findings based on ChatGPT's capabilities, concluded that AI and automation could eliminate close to 100 million American jobs over the next decade. That is not a fringe estimate from a conspiracy blog. That is a Senate-level conversation. The global AI market is projected to reach around $900 billion in value by 2026. Companies everywhere are openly discussing how to reduce headcount through automation, and entire job categories are being reconsidered. The Simpsons episode also had a darkly comic twist, where the robots eventually turn on Mr. Burns, and the laid-off workers have to come back because the machines lack the human judgment to handle unexpected situations. Whether that detail plays out in real life too remains to be seen. But the opening premise, the mass replacement of human workers by automated systems driven by cost-cutting decisions, is happening right now in offices and warehouses and call centers around the world. Prediction 2: the flu that ships in from far away. This one already felt uncomfortable during the pandemic years, and in early 2026, it has come back around in a way nobody wanted.
In 1993, in an episode of The Simpsons titled Margin Chains, it featured the residents of Springfield dealing with a viral outbreak known as the Osaka flu.
Season 4, Episode 21 of The Simpsons is called Margin Chains, and it aired in May of 1993. In the episode, Springfield is hit by a fictional illness called the Osaka flu. The virus arrives in shipping crates sent over from Japan, spreads quickly through the town, overwhelms the local healthcare system, triggers widespread panic, and leads to riots when people become desperate for a cure that is not yet available. When COVID-19 arrived in 2020, the internet immediately pulled up this episode. The similarities were loud enough that major news outlets around the world covered the comparison. International shipping routes, an illness spreading before people understood what they were dealing with, panicking crowds, and a healthcare system struggling to keep up. That 1993 episode caught all of it in broad strokes. But here is why it is being talked about again in 2026. The United States has seen its worst flu season in nearly 3 decades this year. The CDC confirmed early in 2026 that a strain known as H3N2, specifically a subclade designated as K, drove an extraordinary wave of illness in the first months of the year. Roughly 11 million Americans fell ill in that opening stretch, with thousands of hospitalizations and hundreds of deaths. That is a real CDC figure, not a dramatized number. Nobody is claiming this is the Osaka flu. But when a cartoon from 1993 laid out the emotional and social template of exactly this kind of outbreak, and you are sitting in 2026 watching a serious flu season unfold, the chill is genuinely hard to shake off. Prediction 3. Smart homes that turn on you. Long before Alexa became a fixture in American living rooms, The Simpsons built a whole episode around what happens when your house knows more about you than your own family does. Season 13, Episode 1, Treehouse of Horror 12, aired in November 2001 and includes a segment called House of Wax. In it, The Simpsons install a fully voice-activated, AI-managed home system that handles every aspect of their daily lives. It wakes them up, manages their schedule, controls the temperature, handles cooking, and monitors everything happening inside the house. For a while, it is wonderful. Then it becomes possessive. Then it becomes threatening. In 2026, this setup is not science fiction. Recent surveys indicate that more than 8 in 10 American households now contain at least one smart device, whether that is a voice assistant, a smart doorbell, a connected refrigerator, a robotic vacuum, or a smart security camera. The infrastructure of the fully automated home that The Simpsons played for horror back in 2001 is now the standard model sold at every electronics retailer. What the episode captured with particular accuracy is the trajectory of the experience, not the technology itself. The system starts as a convenience and becomes a dependency and then a vulnerability. That is precisely the conversation happening right now about smart home devices collecting voice data, third-party apps accessing home security feeds, and AI assistants being discovered to have recorded conversations they were not supposed to. The threatening quality of the house in the episode is, in 2026, less a horror story and more a data privacy policy dispute. But the underlying tension the show identified in 2001 is the exact same tension that millions of people are navigating today in their own homes. Prediction 4. Trump returns and Lisa saw it coming. This is the most thoroughly documented Simpsons hit on record, and it has a brand new dimension in 2026. Season 11, Episode 17, Bart to the Future, aired in March of the year 2000. The episode gives Bart a vision of his adult future in which his sister Lisa has become the President of the United States. In one of her first scenes as president, Lisa tells her cabinet they have inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. The line was a throwaway joke.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
We're broke.
It sat quietly in the episode for 16 years. Then 2016 happened, and the episode became one of the most talked about pieces of television in recent memory. The writer of that specific episode, Dan Graney, told The Hollywood Reporter that the Trump reference was an intentional satirical warning and that it felt like the logical endpoint of a certain direction they saw American political culture heading in. After Trump won the 2016 election, the show aired a chalkboard gag in season 28 where Bart writes the words "being right sucks" on the classroom blackboard. That is the show acknowledging the hit in its own quiet way. Now here is what makes this prediction resonate even louder in 2026. Trump is back in the White House for a second term. The 2015 YouTube short Trumptastic Voyage, which depicted Trump re-entering political life, has received millions of new views since the 2024 election. And fans are now actively revisiting the Bart to the Future episode through the lens of Lisa as a future president, with progressive values cleaning up fiscal chaos, wondering aloud whether the show mapped out a longer arc than anyone realized. Nobody is claiming this is prophecy, but it is one of the most specific, earliest, and most fully confirmed cultural predictions the show ever made, and in 2026, it is back in the conversation with new energy. Prediction 5: Celebrity astronauts in space for everyone. This one already came true in 2025, and the Simpsons fans were absolutely ready for it. Season 5, Episode 15, Deep Space Homer, aired in January 1994. In the episode, NASA is facing a public relations problem. Space exploration has become boring to the average American, ratings for launches are tanking, and the agency decides to send an ordinary average citizen into space to make the program feel relatable and exciting again. Homer Simpson is their pick. The legendary Buzz Aldrin even appeared in the episode as himself, lending the plot an extra layer of real-world credibility. In April 2025, Blue Origin, the aerospace company founded by Jeff Bezos, launched an all-female crew on a suborbital flight aboard the New Shepard rocket. The crew included pop star Katy Perry and journalist Gayle King, among others.
King returned to Earth after partaking in the Blue Origin 11-minute spaceflight, but the reception wasn't quite as welcoming as she had hoped.
The stated goal of the mission, as reported across major publications, was to make space travel more visible, more accessible, and more exciting to the general public by putting recognizable faces on the experience. That is essentially a word-for-word replay of the episode's premise, with better production values and real rocket fuel. The space tourism industry is expected to grow substantially through 2026 and beyond, with multiple companies competing for public attention and commercial passengers. SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic are all actively working on expanding their programs. The Simpsons did not predict this because they had insider knowledge. They predicted it because they understood something true about human nature, that public institutions and private companies alike eventually need celebrity and spectacle to hold public attention. That insight, written into a cartoon in 1994, is now the operating strategy of an entire industry. Prediction 6: Extreme weather. Shutting everything down, The Simpsons has returned to extreme weather scenarios more times than most people remember. And in the first week of January 2026, one of those episodes became impossible to ignore. Season 12, Episode 8, Skinner's Sense of Snow, aired in December 2000. In the episode, a catastrophic blizzard strikes Springfield and traps students and staff inside the elementary school for days. The snow piles higher than buildings, infrastructure collapses. Nobody can get in or out. What starts as a funny inconvenience becomes a genuine survival situation, with Bart organizing a student rebellion against Skinner's increasingly desperate attempts to maintain order. In the very first week of January 2026, a massive cross-country winter storm swept across the United States, threatening millions of lives and triggering emergency declarations across multiple states. The storm caused widespread infrastructure failures, travel chaos, and forced school and business closures on a scale that genuinely echoed what the episode depicted in comedic form back in 2000. And then there is the Simpsons movie from 2007, which takes the environmental angle even further. In the film, Springfield is encased in a glass dome by the Environmental Protection Agency after Homer dumps a silo of pig waste into the town lake, causing catastrophic environmental contamination. The glass dome is obviously exaggerated for effect, but the core premise that industrial and individual negligence leads to environmental crises severe enough to isolate entire communities is not. In 2026, with insurance companies pulling out of certain states due to climate-related disaster risk, with extreme weather events increasing in frequency and severity across the globe, and with ongoing debates about industrial pollution and environmental regulation, the Simpsons movie feels less like comedy and more like a detailed warning that arrived 19 years before its time. Prediction 7. Cryptocurrency, chaos and the Frink coin. Crypto enthusiasts and skeptics alike have been pointing at this episode since the Bitcoin boom and the subsequent crashes that followed. Season 31, Episode 13, Frink coin, aired on Fox on February 23, 2020. In the episode, Professor Frink invents a brand new cryptocurrency called Frink coin, which makes him the richest man in Springfield overnight, overtaking Mr. Burns. The episode even brought in actor Jim Parsons to explain how blockchain and distributed ledgers work, in what was probably the most detailed and accessible explanation of cryptocurrency mechanics that had ever appeared in a primetime cartoon. The episode captures something genuinely insightful about the crypto space, which is that the value of these currencies is intensely social, driven by who believes in them and who likes you, rather than by any fixed underlying asset. When Frink's popularity fades and people stop supporting Frink coin, the value collapses. That is a strikingly accurate representation of how crypto markets have behaved in the real world, where price movements are often driven more by sentiment, celebrity endorsement, and media cycles than by fundamental value assessments. In 2026, crypto markets continue to experience the extreme volatility the episode illustrated through satire. The crypto sector has gone through multiple dramatic boom and bust cycles since 2020. Regulatory pressure from governments around the world is intensifying, with the European Union having already implemented its MiCA framework and the US continuing to debate its own approach. Fans and financial commentators alike have pointed to Frink coin as yet another case of Springfield identifying a cultural and economic phenomenon and capturing its essential absurdity before the rest of the world fully caught on. Prediction 8. Surveillance everywhere and the end of privacy. This episode is a thread woven through multiple seasons that, taken together, forms one of the most accurate long-form predictions the show has ever made. The episode most frequently cited in this context is To Surveil with Love from Season 21 in 2010, in which Springfield installs surveillance cameras across the entire town following a security scare. Citizens gradually lose any meaningful sense of privacy in public spaces, and the cameras become tools for social policing rather than genuine public safety. In 2026, facial recognition technology is operational in airports, retail environments, law enforcement contexts, and some school systems. Data collected from smartphones, smart home devices, cars, and online behavior is traded on markets that most ordinary people know very little about. The legal and political battles over where surveillance ends and civil liberty begins are happening in courts and legislatures right now in nearly every developed country. What makes The Simpsons' treatment of this theme particularly sharp is that it never depicted surveillance as arriving with a dramatic announcement. Nobody in Springfield votes for constant monitoring. The cameras just appear in the name of safety and people adjust. That is a remarkably accurate description of how surveillance infrastructure has actually expanded in the real world, incrementally under the banner of security and convenience. without any single dramatic moment where the public was clearly asked to make a choice. The show understood the mechanism of how this happens before most people were paying attention to the fact that it was happening at all. Prediction 9. The World Cup Final. That fans cannot stop arguing about here is one that is genuinely fun, genuinely speculative, and absolutely worth including because of how loudly the internet has been talking about it. Season 9, Episode 5, The Cartridge Family, aired in November 1997. In the episode, the Simpsons family watches a TV commercial for a major soccer match, promoted as determining which nation is the greatest on Earth. The two nations competing in the commercial are Mexico and Portugal. Fans have been connecting this scene to the 2026 FIFA World Cup ever since the tournament's host nations, the United States, Canada, and Mexico, were confirmed. Both Mexico and Portugal have already qualified for the tournament. The 2026 World Cup Final is scheduled to take place at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and fans online have noted that Springfield, being a fictional American city, could be imagined as being in that general region. Now here is the important honest part. Fact checkers at Factly, The Quint, and multiple other outlets have confirmed that the episode does not specify what year the match takes place in, does not mention the World Cup, and does not declare a winner. The same screenshot circulated during the 2018 World Cup and the 2022 World Cup, both times with people claiming it was a prediction for that specific tournament. What is true is that both Mexico and Portugal are real teams that genuinely have a chance to go deep in the 2026 tournament. Cristiano Ronaldo has publicly confirmed this will be his final World Cup appearance. If Portugal and Mexico somehow meet in the final at MetLife Stadium this summer, the internet will absolutely collapse. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen, and that is the honest answer. But as fan speculation goes, this one is more enjoyable than most. Prediction 10. Aliens and the question the government is now taking seriously. This is the most speculative prediction on our list, but it connects to something real enough that it deserves a genuine conversation. Season 8, Episode 10, The Springfield Files, aired in January 1997. In the episode, Homer claims to have encountered an alien in the woods outside Springfield. Two FBI agents come to investigate his claim. The episode is a loving spoof of the X-Files, but it takes the premise seriously enough to let Homer's experience feel genuinely eerie for stretches before revealing the comedic explanation. What gives this episode new relevance in 2026 is not anything in the episode itself. It is what has happened in the real world. In 2023 and 2024, the United States Congress held formal hearings on unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the current official terminology for what were previously called UFOs.
Unidentified flying objects, UFOs, back in the spotlight on Capitol Hill. Congress set to hold a public hearing tomorrow, the first in more than 50 years. A subcommittee of the House of Representatives and the public will hear from experts.
Former military personnel and intelligence officials testified under oath about encounters with objects that could not be explained by known technology. The subject has moved from fringe territory into official government hearings covered by major news organizations, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the BBC. Some fans online have speculated with obvious enthusiasm that 2026 could bring more formal disclosures about what the government knows. One user on X posted early in 2026 that given the Simpsons' track record, disclosure could be a matter of weeks away. We are not making that claim ourselves, to be clear. What we are saying is that the cultural shift from alien sightings are ridiculous to Congress is holding formal hearings about unexplained aerial phenomena is exactly the kind of shift the Springfield Files quietly depicted 29 years ago. The show captured the movement from mockery to official seriousness. Whether that arc completes itself in 2026 is a question nobody can honestly answer yet. Prediction 11. The Third World War reference. nobody wants to revisit. This is the heaviest one on the list, and we want to be careful and clear about how we present it because the topic deserves that. The Simpsons has referenced the concept of a third world war in more than one place across its long history. The earliest is a 1987 Tracy Ullman short in which Homer becomes convinced World War III has already started and rushes his family into a backyard bomb shelter. The joke is his paranoia, and it is played entirely for laughs. But the image of a family scrambling for cover at the first sign of global crisis is one that lands differently in 2026 than it did nearly 40 years ago. The reference that fans find more unsettling is in Season 6, Episode 19, Lisa's Wedding, which aired in March 1995. The episode is a flash-forward story set in the future where Lisa meets her British fiancé. In one casual exchange, the fiancé mentions to Homer and Bart that Britain saved America's backside in World War III. The line is treated as old news, something so far in the past that it barely registers. It is not played for drama. It is just a throwaway detail of future history that the characters accept without blinking. That casualness is actually what makes it land as unsettling in 2026, because it implies the writers imagined a world where it had already happened and life had simply moved on. To be absolutely clear, nobody is predicting that a third world war will happen in 2026. Geopolitical analysts, historians, and security experts do not speak in those terms, and neither do we. What is true is that global tensions are at levels that have not been seen in some time. Ongoing armed conflicts in multiple regions, strained diplomatic relationships between major powers, and renewed public conversations about nuclear arsenals are all part of the current news landscape. When you add those real conditions to a 1995 cartoon throwaway line, the discomfort is understandable even if the connection is loose. The Simpsons was good at embedding things in jokes that you did not process until the world caught up to the setup. The Simpsons isn't a crystal ball, but decades of sharp satire tracking real trends. From AI and surveillance to extreme weather and space tourism, many ideas now feel real in 2026. Some are unfolding now, others we hope remain fiction, but more predictions than usual seem to be landing. Out of all 11 predictions on this list, which one do you genuinely hope The Simpsons got completely wrong? Drop your answer below because I want to know.